On February 3, 2025, NET25 warmly welcomed the esteemed guest, Israel's ambassador to the Philippines, His Excellency Ilan Fluss. The envoy was in a series of visits and speaking engagements with various sectors and government agencies in the country. Diplomatic relations between the Philippines and Israel were established in 1957. The two nations have built a lasting partnership based on mutual respect, shared values, and common aspirations. 3 years ago, the Israel Ministry of Tourism graciously hosted NET25 in the beautiful cities of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, as well as in other remarkable tourist destinations there. Open for Business delivered episodes highlighting Israel's rich history and vibrant tourism sector. Now, in this particular visit at NET25, Ambassador Fluss spoke about the ongoing collaboration between the Philippines and Israel in the agricultural sector, citing programs with agencies like TESDA and the Department of Agriculture.
Israel wants to expand the collaboration with the Philippines in the agricultural sector. Actually, this is a direct request of President Marcos when he entered into office. In our few meetings we had, he always asked me, Ambassador Ilan, please, I'm aware of the Israeli expertise and technologies in agricultural sector, and top of my agenda, agricultural productivity and food security. What we are trying to do is, from one side, bringing more of Israeli private sector to introduce Israeli technologies which are very relevant for the challenges in the Philippines. And the other hand is really enhancing and improving our partnership in training in agriculture. And here we have two ways of collaboration that we are doing today. The first one, which has very big numbers, is a program in what we call the agricultural internship program, where we invite interns to Israel for 11 months. Traditionally, we used to bring about 500 Filipinos every year to Israel. Last year, we increased the number to 700. It's done in partnership here in the Philippines with TESDA, so vocational training. The issue is what happens with those interns when they come back to the Philippines, because TESDA is doing the focusing on the training, but the reintegration when they come, how do we make their reintegration effective and not looking and suddenly you find them either as salespersons in different shops, or some of them would go out as OFWs. So we established now a partnership between AgroStudies, the Israeli entity which is implementing the program, together with the DILG, so we can connect the local government, which has their own programs in the provinces or in the cities or in the local municipalities, and they can send representatives of their teams or the teams of the cooperatives in that area, for example, to go to Israel, and then they come back. So there is a reintegration. And secondly, and this is only 2 weeks ago, we signed an agreement with the Department of Agriculture, with the Agricultural Training Institute, the ATI, where this year in October we'll have 50 interns going from ATI to this program and then coming back to ATI. So what we're actually doing is making a full package where we have TESDA, we have DILG, we have Department of Agriculture, and sending 700 interns to Israel, 11 months. Then when they come back, they can really contribute to the agricultural sector and bring a different approach, the approach that we're implementing in Israel. You might know that Israel is a dryland country. 50% of Israel is actually a desert. Now, when we started to build Israel, one of the most important things for us to do was to make sure we have enough food security. And we had to innovate. We had to create new technologies and new approaches in order to make sure that we survive, because we're a small country surrounded by countries that are not so friendly. So, for an example, Drip irrigation is an Israeli invention coming from a kibbutz. The cherry tomatoes, the very small tomatoes, came from Israel, Israeli invention. And from there it led to the small cucumbers. But this is just a few examples. Today, in Israeli farming, you could find sensors that measure the conditions of each tree, fruit tree, to know exactly what is happening in the tree and what is lacking, nutrition, water, or if it has sex or disease. So you're monitoring, everything is about combination of science, understanding what are the needs, of technology to understand what's happening on the ground or in the roots, and addressing it. That's science or scientific approach or a commercial approach. We cannot continue to do things as we did before because the world is changing, the market is changing, the needs are changing, and the population is growing, and we need to produce more in order to be able to make sure that everybody has food on its plate.
Food security in the Philippines is not just a growing concern, but is already an emergency situation according to field experts. The government is extending its efforts to address the issue, such as working with the country's international allies.
This is why we invite 700. The Philippines is actually the biggest country participating in this program is the Philippines, 700 Filipinos, and the idea is really to help, and we're not looking at Metro Manila. Agriculture is not Metro Manila. It is helping in the different provinces where you have agriculture, which is most of the country. Of course, Israel cannot contribute a lot in the rice farming. But when you talk about high-value crops, about fruit trees, about vegetables, about nurseries, dairy.
The ambassador also welcomed the involvement of the private sector in helping to address the issues with trade and agriculture.
I talked about the two angles. From one side, private sector, on the other hand, government. So absolutely the answer is yes. And we are assisting Israeli private companies to come into the Philippine market. There is a strategic partnership between the Metro Pacific Group and an Israeli agricultural company, and they went into this partnership focusing on dairy farming and on vegetable production in greenhouses. One dairy farm is already in the process of establishment of building in Laguna, and dairy production in Bulacan. And of course, we are trying to assist not only in introductions, but also in giving some trainings to people who are involved in order to help in the knowledge and the understanding. And we have a few more examples of we're bringing also trade delegations. We had last year a delegation of Israeli agro companies who visited the Philippines, and we had interactions both with government, but also we had a business seminar with the private sector.
It's interesting to note the observations and suggestions raised by diplomats like the Israeli ambassador when it comes to local agriculture. The envoy shared his insights on what can be done to resolve the issues within the sector.
It's not enough to have pure research. You have to have also the research which is connected, applied research, which is connected to the production of the farmers. Of course, we can talk a lot about the connectivity, the challenge of the Philippines being an island country, and Israel is actually one entity, one unit. But for us, on the other side, we have borders. We are like an island economy, because our main trading partners is Europe and North America. Not talking about agriculture, but generally speaking as an economy. And now I hope looking more towards Philippines as a very interesting market and a partner. So I think it's about changing a mindset, but when you change a mindset, you have to change a lot of things. So, and this is a challenge that I think has to be done. And I'm meeting the leadership here. I'm offering the Israeli collaborations also between universities now. By the way, I'm also talking to some Israeli universities to have more collaboration with universities in the Philippines, and we used to have in the past much more. and we're trying to start once again.
During his visit, the ambassador was able to tackle the tensions in the region, assuring would-be tourists about the safety of visiting Israel.
Terrorism is a global issue. Israel is on the front line and is really fighting terrorism, and it can hit everywhere. Secondly, I can tell you last year we had thousands of Filipinos who have visited Israel. Nothing in the news, they were never attacked. They are not the targets of the terrorists. The experience is that tourists do not suffer from terrorism in Israel. The Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, is the most powerful, sophisticated, modern army, which is using so many technologies and methods in order to protect not only Israelis, to protect people who are in Israel. And we are taking care of the people in Israel. We are taking care of everybody in Israel, and there is no, even during the war, there is no discrimination between Israelis and non-Israelis.
Looking into the future of Israel and the Philippines, the ambassador had this to say.
We have a long history of close friendship and partnership from the 1930s when President Quezon, opened the Philippines for the Jewish refugees trying to escape the Nazis in Europe, and most countries closed the doors. If it is 1947, the only country in Asia who voted in support of the establishment of the Jewish state of Israel. Typhoon Yolanda in 2013, Israel brought over the field hospital and the first teams on the ground and search and rescue teams. We're always here because there is this very strong affiliation, partnership and friendship. So I believe the future is in the innovation and technology in addressing the current challenges together here in the Philippines.
Ambassador Fluss was then given a tour of the headquarters of NET25 in Quezon City. He was able to see the technologies being used by the network to broadcast all over the country and stream its programs worldwide through online platforms. The diplomatic ties between Israel and the Philippines remain strong. With the current economic issues faced by both nations, it can be said that the approaches and measures being taken are productive, beneficial, and collaborative. It is proof that despite the challenges, the two nations remain to be open for business. Mga ka-NET 25, this is Cesar Vallejos of Open for Business. For more updates, just click the subscribe button and follow us on NET25 social media pages at NET25 TV and at NET25 Entertainment Facebook pages.